In 1932, the Australian military went to war. They brought soldiers, machine guns, military tactics. Their enemy? 20,000 emus. The emus won. This is the story of the only war Australia ever lost on home soil. And they lost it to birds. The year is 1932. Australia is deep in the Great Depression. Farmers in Western Australia are already struggling. Crop prices have collapsed. Many are on the verge of bankruptcy. Then, the emus arrive. Every year, around 20,000 emus migrate inland from their coastal breeding grounds. They're massive birds, standing 6 feet tall and weighing up to 130 pounds. And they're hungry. The emus descend on farmland near Campion and Walgoolan, destroying wheat crops, trampling fields, and breaking through fences meant for rabbits, allowing rabbits to pour in and cause even more damage. The farmers are desperate. They've tried everything. Shooting them individually barely makes a dent. The birds are too fast, too many, and too spread out. So they turn to the government with an unusual request. Send in the military. At first, this seems ridiculous. The Australian government initially refuses, but the farmers make a compelling case. Many of them are Great War veterans who were given this land as settlement after World War I. The government promised to support them. Now they're demanding that support. And so, in October 1932, the Australian government makes a decision that will haunt them for generations. They declare war on the emus. On November 2nd, 1932, the military operation officially begins. The government sends in the 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery. The commanding officer is Major Gwynedd Purves Wyn Aubrey Meredith. His weapons? 2 Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. His mission? Eliminate the emu threat. How hard could it be? They're just birds. Meredith is confident. The emus are large, slow-moving targets. His men are trained soldiers with automatic weapons. This should be over in days. He's also brought a cameraman. The plan is to use the footage for a propaganda film showing the government helping struggling farmers. That footage was never released. On November 4th, the soldiers encounter their first major group of emus, about 50 birds, grazing near a dam. The soldiers set up their machine guns and wait for the emus to come into range. The birds approach, closer, closer. The guns open fire. The emus scatter instantly in all directions. The machine guns struggle to track the fast-moving targets. When the dust settles, the soldiers have killed exactly 12 birds. The emus have learned their first lesson: stay spread out. Later that same day, the soldiers spot a much larger group. Nearly 1,000 emus moving together. This is it. This is their chance. The gunners wait until the birds are in range, then open fire into the massive flock. The emus immediately split into small groups and scatter in different directions, moving in zigzag patterns. The machine guns can't keep up. The emus are too fast, too unpredictable. After expending hundreds of rounds, the soldiers manage to kill only a handful of birds. Major Meredith watches in disbelief. The emus aren't just running away randomly. They're using tactics. Over the next several days, the pattern repeats. The soldiers try different approaches: ambushes, flanking maneuvers, setting up positions near water sources where the emus gather. Nothing works. The emus prove to be surprisingly intelligent. They post sentries. When danger approaches, one emu sounds an alarm, and the entire group scatters before the soldiers can get into position. They run in erratic patterns, making it nearly impossible to get a clean shot. And they're fast. Emus can run up to 30 miles per hour. A Lewis machine gun has an effective range of about 600 yards, but hitting a target moving that fast in unpredictable directions across rough terrain? Nearly impossible. To make matters worse, the emus prove to be incredibly resilient. Even when hit, many birds keep running. Their thick feathers and tough bodies can absorb multiple shots. One soldier later reported that even after being hit with multiple rounds, some emus would continue running for miles before finally collapsing. The media starts paying attention. Newspapers began running stories with headlines like "Emus win battle" and "Feathered foes too fast for gunners." Ornithologist Dominic Cervanti, who witnessed the operation, makes a comment that will be quoted for decades. The machine gunner's dreams of point-blank fire into serried masses of emus were soon dissipated. The Emu Command had evidently ordered guerrilla tactics, and its unwieldy army soon split up into innumerable small units that made use of the military equipment uneconomic. He later adds, "If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. They can face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks." After 6 days of operation, the military has fired approximately 2,500 rounds of ammunition. They've killed roughly 50 emus. That's 50 bullets per bird. The cost in ammunition alone exceeds the value of the crops being saved. On November 8th, after less than a week, the military withdraws. The emus have won. The story should end there. But the farmers are still desperate. The emus are still destroying crops. And the government is still facing political pressure. So they try again. On November 12th, just 4 days after the withdrawal, the military returns to the field. This time, they're more cautious, more strategic. They use smaller ambush tactics. They target isolated groups. They're more patient with their shots. The results improve. Over the course of the second operation, which lasts until December 10th, the soldiers kill approximately 300 emus. But they fire nearly 10,000 rounds to do it. That's still over 30 bullets per bird. And there are still thousands of emus left. By early December, the media mockery has become relentless. International newspapers pick up the story. Australia is being laughed at worldwide. The House of Representatives debates the operation. One member asks whether a medal should be struck for participants in the Emu War. Another suggests the emus should be given military honors for their victory. On December 10th, 1932, the military operations are permanently suspended. Major Meredith later writes in his official report, "If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. They can face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks. They are like Zulus, whom even dum-dum bullets could not stop." The Australian military never fought emus again. Instead, the government implemented a bounty system, paying farmers for each emu killed. Over the next 6 months, farmers claimed bounties for over 57,000 emus. Turns out, individual hunters who knew the land were far more effective than organized military operations. The emus, however, continued to thrive. To this day, there are over 700,000 emus living wild in Australia. They remain undefeated. So what went wrong? How does a modern military with machine guns lose to flightless birds? The answer is actually simple. The military was fighting the wrong kind of war. Machine guns are designed for massed targets, trenches, formations, large groups moving together. Emus don't fight that way. They scatter. They use speed and terrain. They're guerrilla fighters by instinct. The soldiers were trained for World War I tactics, static positions, concentrated fire. The emus were playing a completely different game. And there's a deeper lesson here about hubris. The government assumed this would be easy. They assumed technology and training would triumph over nature. They forgot that evolution has been training emus to survive for millions of years. These birds have outrun dingoes, eagles, and aboriginal hunters across some of the harshest terrain on Earth. A few soldiers with machine guns weren't going to change that overnight. The Great Emu War has become a source of national embarrassment for Australia, but it's also become something else. A reminder. A reminder that nature doesn't care about your plans. A reminder that sometimes the smartest strategy is knowing when you're beaten. A reminder that underestimating your opponent, no matter how ridiculous they seem, is always a mistake. The emus didn't win because they were strong. They won because the humans were arrogant. If you enjoyed this dive into one of history's most absurd military defeats, hit that subscribe button. We're uncovering the bizarre, the forgotten, and the unbelievable stories